It was supposed to be the quietest night the town had seen in years. No storms. No parties. No late-night traffic. In the small rural town of Ridge Hollow, silence was normal. People went to bed early. By midnight, the streets were empty, porch lights were turned off, and the only sound came from the wind brushing against open fields and trees. But on this night, silence would become something far more disturbing. Because while the town slept, something happened that would never be fully explained. The Harper family lived at the end of Willow Road, in a modest house surrounded by farmland and tall trees. The road was narrow and rarely used at night. Most people avoided it after dark. Inside the home lived Thomas Harper, his wife Elaine, and their two children, 14-year-old Maggie and 9-year-old Daniel. They were known as a quiet family. They kept to themselves. No loud arguments. No trouble with neighbors. Just an ordinary family in an ordinary town. That evening followed the same routine as always. Elaine washed the dishes after dinner. Thomas double-checked the locks on the doors. Maggie went to her room to read, while Daniel fell asleep on the couch before being carried to bed. By 10:47 p.m., the house was dark. Everyone was asleep. That was what made the next morning so impossible to understand. No one heard a scream. No one heard footsteps. No doors were forced open. No windows were broken. The town would later say it was the quietest night they could remember. And yet, sometime during that quiet, something happened inside the house on Willow Road. Elaine Harper woke up just after 5:30 in the morning. She moved through the house quietly, careful not to wake anyone. She went first to Maggie's room to wake her for school. Maggie's bed was made. But Maggie was not in it. At first, Elaine thought her daughter had gone to the bathroom or into Daniel's room. She walked down the hallway and opened Daniel's door. His bed was empty too. 2 empty beds. Elaine felt a tight knot form in her chest. She called their names. No answer. She searched the kitchen, the living room, the bathroom. Nothing. That is when panic took over. Elaine woke Thomas. Together, they searched the house again, this time faster. Louder. Desperate. The front door was still locked. The back door was still locked. All the windows were closed. There were no signs of forced entry. It was as if Maggie and Daniel had simply disappeared. Police arrived within minutes of the call. They searched the house from top to bottom. They looked under beds, inside closets, in the attic, and in the basement. There was no blood. No signs of a struggle. No overturned furniture. No missing valuables. Maggie's shoes were still by the door. Daniel's jacket was still hanging in the closet. Their backpacks were still in their rooms. They had not packed. They had not planned to leave. They had not run away. Investigators were baffled. They described it as one of the strangest scenes they had ever encountered. A locked house. Sleeping parents. Missing children. As news spread, Ridge Hollow changed. People who had lived there their whole lives began locking their doors earlier. Parents walked their children to school. Neighbors whispered on porches and in grocery store aisles. Some believed someone had taken the children. Others believed something darker. Rumors began to grow. Some neighbors said Thomas Harper was too strict, too quiet, too controlling. One woman claimed she once heard yelling late at night, months before the disappearance. Another said she had seen Thomas walking outside the house late one night, long after everyone should have been asleep. But there was no proof. Thomas cooperated fully with police. He answered every question. He took multiple lie detector tests. His story never changed. They were asleep. They heard nothing. They woke up to empty rooms. Elaine was completely broken. She stopped eating regularly. She barely slept. She spent hours sitting by the front window, staring down Willow Road, as if she believed her children might walk back home at any moment. They never did. 3 weeks after the disappearance, something strange happened. A man walking near the edge of the woods, about half a mile from the Harper house, found a small child's sock lying on the ground. It belonged to Daniel. The sock was clean. Not torn. Not bloody. Just lying there. Police searched the surrounding woods for days. They brought in dogs. They combed through fields and tree lines. They checked nearby properties. They found nothing else. No footprints. No clothing. No trace of either child. It was as if the sock had been placed there. A clue. But not a solution. Months turned into years. The case slowly went cold. New families moved into Ridge Hollow. Life continued. But people never forgot the house on Willow Road. When new owners eventually moved in, they reported strange experiences. Footsteps at night. Doors opening on their own. Soft sounds that reminded them of children. Most people dismissed it as imagination. But the house gained a reputation. People said it felt wrong. Like it was holding on to something. Elaine Harper eventually left town. She said she could not breathe in a place filled with so many memories. She moved away quietly and never returned. Thomas stayed. He remained in the house on Willow Road. Alone. Neighbors said he grew quieter over the years. He rarely spoke. He avoided questions about that night. But when he did speak, his words never changed. They were asleep. They heard nothing. The children were gone by morning. Some people believed him. Others believed he knew more than he ever said. Decades later, the case remains unsolved. No arrests. No confirmed sightings. No final answers. Just 2 empty bedrooms. And a quiet house at the end of a quiet road. The quietest night became the darkest mystery. Because sometimes, silence is not peaceful. Sometimes, silence is what hides the truth. And in Ridge Hollow, the nights are still quiet. But some people say, they never feel empty.